Torn from the Jaws of Death is the sixth full-length album from Severe Torture, a Netherlands-based brutal death metal band that started back in 1997 as a traditional kind of Cannibal Corpse-inspired brutal death metal band, and one that was notable from the start for just the sheer ignorance and crushing nature of their riff-driven approach. These were folks who were, I think they were active in Centurion at the same time, some of the members, and that was always enough of an association that I had to check it out. I'm a huge fan of Centurion and Nox especially. I think it's some of the best music out of the Netherlands from my point of view. Severe Torture kind of followed along, and they were a little bit more straightforward to start, and once they got noticed after those first two records, and they had some lineup changes here and there, and became more contemporaries of more modern death metal, and they moved to a larger label and their sound changed a bit. I think if you really want precedence for what is just awesome about this band, you could go straight to Misanthropic Carnage. I think that's their kind of solid go-to classic record. I do think the first record is just as good. It's actually not that different at all. If you're looking for just shotgunned riffs one after another and a great vocalist, I think those first two records, I can't praise them enough. The thing to say about this record is that we are decades past those two records, and they changed considerably by the time 2005 hit. Brutal death metal had changed. It had all gotten more technical and sterile, and they kind of followed suit. And that followed them through their next couple of records. They came and went with a much more modern sound. It became more technical. Again, it became a little bit more sterile in their touch, and they focused away from the complete rawness of it. And what they did in the meantime, with all the records in between, was develop an oeuvre that expanded beyond just the completely brutal stuff. And that meant that there were even some progressive touches in what they were doing. There was a lot of different approaches to pacing on their records. It wasn't just a slam all the way through. If you want to know that history, it does apply somewhat to what this record is doing. It seems like their goal of something that is multifaceted and covering a lot of ground is applied to this record upon return. Let's just listen to a clip of it to get that out of the way and talk about what this record does great and what's new here. So Severe Torture have always been at their best, kind of throwing riffs at you one after another, and I think the way that I would preface their sound on this record is there's a little bit of that first Spawn of Possession record, a lot of precision, a little bit of a very clear production value, and there's a little bit of a progressive touch to the way they transition between things. But that doesn't mean the sort of Morbid Angel and Angel Corpse blackened touch of it isn't there either. So there's a brutality to it. There's a little bit of a blackened edge to like a few songs, and overall we get a more dynamic record. You know, that's kind of the buzzword for records this past year is people have had time to refine their craft, and we're getting better records that show more of what they can do. And this is a band that can do a lot. So it's still more in the technical death metal realm. It's still brutal as all get out, but I think this is maybe more of a upfront brutal album, and the second half develops all the other things that they do so well. So if you're a returning fan from the early 2000s, the first half of the record is probably going to be pretty exciting to start, maybe tentative for you. And then the second half shows all the things they've been working on for the past however many years since their last record. So if you missed all of that, this record is a good way to catch up with some of their best material since 2005. But if you like any of it, I would go back and listen to their past 3 records or so, because maybe you missed out on some of their development and what got them there to this point today. So for me, this is a fantastic death metal record in general. I don't think we have to call it brutal. We can just say it's death metal, and I think they've done a great job with it. I particularly love the album art. I think it shows up for this record in an important way. It feels like a Severe Torture record, and it's kind of the apex statement from the band, and it's been a while since I was more excited about one of their records. So this is one of the better records of June for me, certainly one of the better death metal records, and it does have a modern touch to it, but I think most people who just like this subgenre will be into it on many different levels. So I listened to it so much I had to give it a pretty high score. This isn't my type of record, and it's a band that I have fond memories of, but I realized that they moved on from that early sound pretty quickly. So check it out for yourself. It released on June 7th, and see what you think.